us. And I'm Jennifer Britton. Thank you so much for joining us for our AI and group and team coaching call today. So it is the middle of October 2023. It'll be interesting to think about, what was 2023 as we look back in the history books, but certainly one of the key areas of impact has been all about artificial intelligence and how it's really shaping our world. So, really, like our other calls this fall, I'm joined today by Kathy Vaughn, our team lead for team coaching. I'm joined by Ivana Valet, our team lead for group coaching. We've also got Rita, who is our team lead for remote hybrid. And just wanted to spark a conversation with all of you as practitioners, because my guess is you're probably leveraging a lot of this already. So I want to bring voices into the room. I am going to stop my share for a moment because there's just a few placeholder slides. But just want to ask you, how is AI shaping your world right now? What are you doing? Personally, I'm using it for a lot of content creation, brainstorming as well. I think, though, back to the last few years where things like my use of Rep and Temi have been really critical in helping us with transcription services for some of our courses and our course design. So, AI has been around for quite some time. And as we look at it through the lens of impact on group and team coaching, there's multiple layers, as we'll see. Good to see Courtney as well. I want to bring Ivana, Kathy, Rita into the room. I know, Kathy, you've got some insights on this. I don't know if you want to kick us off first, but I'm going to get you to unmute. We'll see how your connection is, because some days it's good. Over to you, Kathy. What are your thoughts?
Well, some days I wish I was an AI bot that I could pre-record and it would sound good.
All good.
Okay, excellent. So I think AI is just something that's really interesting, coming from my part of the world, where I'm based in Kenya on the continent of Africa, in some of the places where internet penetration is not as great and things are not as automated. Our experience with AI is a bit different. So it allows for cheaper replication of a type of coaching. But when I think about group and team coaching, I see it more as a support to the live experience. You still need very intentional design. You still need to really think it through, and the ethics and like data privacy are really important. So that's what I'm hoping we can kind of jump in here.
Love that. Love
and talk
that.
about a bit.
And again, I think I so appreciate, as always, Kathy, that you help us expand our lens on, where is coaching happening? Who are our clients? Where are our clients? Because I think, just like group and team coaching, there's not just one derivative, and it's certainly not a one size fits all. So how about we go off the continent of Africa to Italy? Ivana, what are you noticing in your world of group coaching right now?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak of my own personal experience and how I've been leveraging AI, if I may, because that's kind of like the lens that I'm bringing. And for me, I kind of see, and even in our group coaching programs, a lot of people, like when we get to the marketing, business development, and some people have like an allergic reaction to the word. And so AI is a great resource, as much as people are like, oh, it's going to like take us out of the game and we're going to be replaced as beings. If you get past that and actually use it, like take the approach of how can this actually support me in my programming? And I absolutely connect to what Kathy said. Like, this does not replace your design. This does not replace the conversations. This does not replace any of that. But a lot of the time, I'll speak of my own experience. Sometimes we get stuck in, what am I trying to articulate here? So I've actually I'm going to be very vulnerable and say this, like, I'm pretty new to the AI, the chat GPT, but in my house, it's become my new best friend. Like my boyfriend and I joke that like I'm having an affair with him on ChatGPT because he's like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, I'm just experimenting. And I love how you can like tweak it and make it your own. But also, if nothing else, get some broad brush strokes to spur creativity, to spur ideas, and really make it your own. So I'm really trying to like lean into it, although I was afraid of it for a while, and now it's become my best friend overnight. So that's just my spin on it. So I don't have a lot of technicalities, but I've been playing with it. I think that's kind of like what my invitation to it is. You know, if you're here in the room, or if you're actually watching the recording, and I will say, like, I use ChatGPT, and I know there's a lot of them out there, and I don't know the differences about them, but get the app more than the website. The app is actually really, really easy to use, and you can like say something, put a broad question, and use your coaching skills of powerful questions, and see how you can use it for a ChatGPT conversation, and then say tweak and add this or remove that. And it's really savvy. I'm just like fascinated by it. If you don't, as all intuitive coaches, like, this is my energy. It's like I was so like, and now I'm like, hello, come into my world, play with me, experiment with me. So I'm all about also hearing what you're going to share about this, because I know you bring some great wisdom to this.
Well, I'm always about, yeah, how can we leverage, right? If we are solopreneurs or small businesses, how do we use technology to expand our reach on multiple levels? And so certainly that's a big area. And I just want to point, Jay's put into the chat, I'm going to read it out if it's okay with you. I've learned that using clean questions, i.e., what instead of why, has been very useful for good prompts. And in fact, that notion of prompts are really, part of the machinery behind good use of AI. And I was reading an article yesterday, I think it was in our Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, about just, how much, AI, artificial intelligence scientists are making. And, Toronto's been a really big hub for many, many years. I actually was reflecting back probably to an engagement 10 years ago where I went to an area of Toronto that is now totally built up. In those days, it was farmers field all around it. And I was at one of our financial services institutions, let me call it that. And they were just starting to go down this pathway of artificial intelligence. And so they were bringing in staff from other countries. And I was asked to come and do some cross cultural briefing with them to help them understand what it really meant to live and work in a city like Toronto. And it was so fascinating listening because I always say, like, what do you do? Tell me a little bit about your world. And they were like, oh, well, we don't think we're going to go anywhere. I'm like, oh, you're going to go out in Toronto for sure. But it really seemed so distant back then, maybe a decade ago, and to see where we're at now, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So I think we all have different perspectives on this. I am by no means anywhere an expert on this, but I thought it was a really important topic to start sparking. I'm going to bring in Rita. Rita, anything you want to note here in terms of your perspectives on this, what you've been experimenting with?
30 seconds to run up the stairs. My dog is expressing her opinions about AI to the entire neighborhood right now. Okay, I'm in a safe space. So I think, like, we've also played around with Chat GPT, from everything from like finessing thoughts to writing stand-up comedy poorly, mind you. And I think as a tool for assistance, it's great. I don't see it yet having enough finesse or enough of a bank of information to replace the job as a coach, but I definitely see the potential for an app or a tool to assist coaches in being better. And the more people use it, the more better information it gets, the more finessed it gets. So I'm not a programmer. I could never create a tool like that, but I feel like down the line, there's something out there for us to use, right?
Absolutely. And again, it's this is here, this is now, and how are we going to use it, leverage it? What's interesting, right? Like, I think what I'm seeing and hearing in the world of AI, it really is another set of hands, another set of thinking. And for that sort of initial creativity, it might be a great brainstorming partner. Last month, or last time, it was 2 weeks ago actually, we talked a little bit about evaluation. And I think for things like evaluation, right? Like, you could just put as a prompt, what are 5 questions I could ask a group to get feedback around if you're stumped, right? Like, these are the things that I think at a very baseline, a Chat GPT or other layering of conversations. And as I go through it, it really made me reflect on going back to my childhood with like the big TV in the corner of the room. And, like that was the window to the world. And even just before here, I had to take my car in this morning. And so as I was traveling back here to the office, someone said, "Oh, are you on your way to work?" I said, "Actually, no, I've been working since 5:30 this morning. My first call was at 5:30." And she sort of looked at me like, "But it's only 10:15." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I can work from anywhere. I could work at any time zone." And, the world today, however we define it, is quite a different place maybe, or our windows to it can be as much as we want to open them. And so I think from a chat GPT, and I keep going back to chat GPT, although there's many others, I'm seeing it everywhere right now. So not only chat GPT, but in the world of Canva. So as many of you know, like really constant marketing, constant communication, constant creation of even my work as an author. And so Canva is one of my biggest tools. And about a year ago, Canva introduced something that they were calling Magic Studio, which would take, your ideas. Say I was working on an icon, and it would provide insights to other icons of a similar brand so that I didn't have to go through and do the manual search. Well, as things have progressed, now it's not only just a studio, it's like a suite of services. And so I've been playing around with, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's probably like DALL-E 3. It's DALL hyphen 3, but it will create imagery for whatever you want. So in some of my slide design and also some of my work as a writer, I'm like, I wonder if I can be creating some new counterparts to the digital dozen, not going to an artist, but going to an AI. I'm not far down this pathway yet, but it really is interesting to see what is feasible and how that may change with time. There are ethical layers to this whole conversation. And so as we go through this as coaches, let's keep an open mind, but also be grounded in what are important areas. So I thought we could look at today's conversation on a couple of layers. Want to bring in other voice. I know we got Courtney here. Courtney, you sent me a great email, and I'll get you to unmute in just a minute. But I know you've got some connectivity with what's going on in different places around AI and coaching. But the conversation always starts with the contract. So who are we involving, and what are we involving? As an author, intellectual property is a really key issue. And knowing, as I have gone, and I'll be honest, I've gone to see what they say on group coaching and seeing my words pretty much verbatim coming back at me, because I know that my books were used as part of the machine learning process, right? Even as much as publishers say, oh, they're not, there's now massive sort of legal action that's ongoing within the publishing community around what has been trolled for creating the world of AI. But how do we can't take the tide back. But it's just really interesting from how are we positioning this? How are we being transparent? How are we, looking at the positives and the risks of it as creatives, as professionals, etc. So contracting, right? Everything starts with contracting. What are some of the things that you might be wanting to take or keep in mind? And I know, Kathy, you had sent a great quote, which I was able to pull in. It's awfully small, but I thought maybe you'd want to talk a little bit about the strong AI versus weak AI. Do you want to unmute and say a few words about
that? There is this big thing, and I think it is big, but there are people to really understand, and one is about strong AI and weak AI. Let me start with the weak AI, because I think that's the one where most of us encounter. It's where something that is a pretty simple defined task has been automated. So it becomes automatic. So think of the chat box when you go look for help for customer service, right? Or if you're using online tool for mental health or for meditation, it sends you something every day. And then based on your preferences or how you ask to receive information, it may remind you. It's being used in coaching a lot for helping people track their goals, which could be very useful, right? Strong AI, though, is really about completely changing how something is getting done, right? Not just automating it, it's completely making it different, where you interact with the AI and it responds to you in a very different way than, say, a week after it's the data set's already there. They've already done the screening that Jennifer's talking about. They've already culled the information. They've created some hypothesis and some pathways, and they've assumed that if you're doing X after that, the next question is going to be which Y are you to pick, 1, 2, or 3? And so it's defined. The strong AI is really very different, and we're not quite experiencing that in coaching unless you're doing metaverse or something like that. So that's really what I thought was just useful to kind of bring in there, because it is important to know that AI refers to a range of interactions and interventions, and how you use it and some of the concerns you just raised, Jennifer, about the design and ethics relate to whether you're using AI or weak AI.
And again, back to contracting, this is a conversation we have with our clients, with our sponsors. So what might be new in fall or winter of 23, 24 that you want to start talking about, right? And privacy is privacy. I think, this is really one of the areas which even across borders has different implications. Of course, I'm not an international law expert by any means, but, I think this is also a very interesting area, international law, in an era of not just globalization, but AI. And so think about contracting, what might be important. We've talked a little bit about the power of brainstorming, and I certainly feel that this is where an AI partner like a Chat GPT can help expand thinking, help heighten perspectives. A lot of course creators, so asynchronous course creators, have been harnessing the power of different elements of AI in this last year. And you can now really write out a whole course without having to write your course. You can feed in prompts and out spits a whole program that you could just record and do. For me as a creative, I love the fact that if I get stumped and I'm like, oh, I need a good title, I can sort of say, here's a starting point. What's a 5-word title as an option? And you'll get, multiple ones back, whether you go with a final version of that or not. It is something that as a solopreneur or a small business really is a thinking partner that we would have had to pay a lot of money for. So again, as workspaces evolve, and this is my link to Reconnecting Workspaces, right? We in the last few years have seen paradigms completely shift because of virtual and remote. But what is this new layer of AI? It's going to continue to invite us to really examine the paradigms we operate with and from. So as someone who is always looking ahead, I think it's important for us to look at what myths are we holding, what sort of elements must we, and that's a must we, choose to explore or not. Because harnessing AI as a small business is something that can actually, I think, put you on footing with much, much bigger, more traditional organizations. Now, whether that's something you want to do, I think in an economy, if I look at the macroeconomics, at economies which are very much not responding to the traditional economic paradigms, in the environmental sphere for the last 3 decades, we have been talking about counter economic paradigms. They haven't been well received, but I just see this as more forces of, how else do you create economic gain or influence economics for positive or negative in marketplaces that are on a 400-year-old model. So marketing is something that we've talked about today. Content creation, right? Whether you're using it around content generation, like helping with a blog post, or if you are going to say a Canva. One of the reasons why I've been in Canva a lot this month, you might have seen it, is with the Coaching Shorts series. So every month I try to do something a little different. This month is experimenting with the Shorts model of content creation, 60 seconds or less. And we're now at day 15 of that process. So if you're on YouTube at Effective Group Coach, they'll show up on your shorts. If you're not a subscriber, join us at Effective Group Coach. And I'm going through, like yesterday was all about listening. I've done a series on questions. They're just short ideas. And I had a couple emails yesterday out of my posting from Sunday, which was a card of the week. A couple people who are coaches in organizations said to me, "Oh, this is so good. 60 seconds or less when you put it on LinkedIn, I can watch it and I get inspired. And this is a really good way to start the week." So again, like the world of content creation continues to change. How are we harnessing what's available? And the AI piece for me within the Coaching Shorts project is actually the inspiration I'm getting through the Magic Studio of Canva, right? It's made my creation really easy because I'll start with like, I know what I'm going to say, but I don't have the images. And so Canva so handily will present, oh, you might want to choose this or this, which just takes it up a notch and makes it so that I can create a 1 minute video with content, not in a 3 hour process, but in about 15 minutes, which makes it really feasible and doable. So think about that. Again, I keep going to that. Ivana has put the link in, so youtube.com/effective group coach. That's where you can follow along. And it's the shorts series, which you may then see across your TikTok, your Instagram. It's really the Reels system. Now, I talked a little bit about experimenting with Canva and DALL-E, as I call it, but it could be DALL-E3 perhaps. This is what I got back when I inserted the prompt. Please create an icon of someone in front of the screen looking at green. It was something about looking at green something. So if you look at these icons, they're not quite what I imagined, but this is what the system sent back to me. Had I been a little more specific with my prompt, I could have gotten a little bit better, but it's just interesting. I'm not using these because I don't really know what they represent, but I think it's just, okay, that's interesting. So this is what a Canva DALL-E 3 pumps out if you're looking for some generative AI. I will say with generative AI, there is a lot of discourse around ownership, right? Back to our intellectual property laws, who owns what is created, right? And that's always a consideration. But if you're just looking for something for a blog post, it may not be, a primary concern. So that's all I have to say on this. But I know we've got people like Courtney. Courtney, I'm so glad you joined us. Good to see you. You sent me an email and indicated you've had a bit of a touch point with AI. So do you want to unmute and let us know what you've been doing? You were with us last year, I think, for Group Coaching Essentials. So tell us, this is your stage.
So I'm based in New York City, and most of my work is in teaching. And so there have been a number of projects that coders have started. And there was a group of coders at MIT who reached out to me because I teach negotiation. They built a platform where you can run role plays with using AI as the characters. So gone are the days where you need to find a friend to take on the role of a coach or a coaching client. You can just go on this platform and practice as a coach with AI playing the role of the client. And they have not built multiplayer yet. I told them they're going to need to build multiplayer because right now you can only have 2 people. So for practicing group coaching or team coaching, it wouldn't work because it's only 2. But I thought that was an interesting application. It reminds me of what Ivana was saying. The fact that it's really meant to, if AI is done well, it's not meant to replace us, it's meant to uplift us. And so I thought this is actually very helpful. It solves a problem for us. Like in 2 weeks, we're running a negotiation AI simulation. So the students go on, they practice the AI role plays, and then when they get to class, they do the real role play with people, but they feel more prepared beforehand. The same thing goes with coaching. If somebody feels a little nervous, they don't want to do their coaching, they want to practice beforehand, they can do this role play. And then at the end, AI gives feedback about how you did as well.
And as we know, right, the ability to pause and reflect on practice is so invaluable. So whether we're doing that with in partnership with technology or in partnership with people, there is research which shows it's really the reflective space that is the part of the learning process that creates learning. So really fascinating again. And Courtney has put the it's simulationlabs.ai as an option. And I imagine they build out role plays for a lot of different industries and focus areas.
They're actually students at MIT. So they are so gifted, like really, really talented computer scientists. So I also feel like it goes back to what I think Rita was saying before about the partnership. So obviously, people like me, I have zero technical experience. They had to show me how to create a hyperlink in an email. But when you pair people together who have different experiences, you can make an impact, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all about this work, right? It's a collaborative space. And so who is the collaborative partner? Well, we've got just a few minutes left. Jay, Nancy, Carol, thoughts, comments. What's how are you being impacted with AI right now? And Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, that's interesting because to me, like Ivana, and probably less than Ivana, I've just got introduced to it in the sense that I've heard about it, and my colleagues, some of them used it. But for myself, the discovery was this weekend, asking my first question to ChatGPT. And what prompted that is that I went to a conference, like a happy hour on Thursday, with data scientists that were talking about it. And one of them actually wrote a book on AI and data scientists with data collection for talent HR. So he wrote a book, and then I actually got the book for free, and I'm happy. I'm curious to read that, but it prompted me to look into it. And last night, I had to work to build a course that I'm delivering on Wednesday morning, and it's like short notice. And I'm like, well, let me try to ask questions for my content, right? Oh my God, it saved me 10 hours of creation. And I was done my course last night. I worked 2.5 hours on it, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm done. I can't believe I'm done. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is amazing. So it definitely spurs creativity, like you said, Ivana. It's like I had asked a question, got an answer, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this activity and this activity and this activity. And then just like from getting an answer from it. And I'm just, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. This is so productive. I was amazed and excited.
And again, for us back to the solopreneur, what does it allow us to do? This is really critical, I think, from a business perspective, and it saves some time, right? Especially if we can feed in our prompts and it becomes, again, a thinking partner with us. Carol, anything you want to mention? You don't have to, but feel free.
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, that is it for today, but here's what I want to foreshadow our future topics as well. So every couple of weeks we meet here. I just pulled it up. I usually publish these in our Things for the Week newsletter, which I'm on a mission with feedback to further simplify. So we've got some firm dates that I really want to spotlight because they're setting you up for success for 2024. My annual vision work module, which is usually a 45-minute call. That's going to take place on November the 14th. And on November 28th, we're going to do our 2024 strategic planning. So join us on the 14th to create a vision. Join us on the 28th to do strategic planning. Both of those pieces feed into our Coaching Biz Growth Lab. And I've had a lot of questions from coaches, no surprise, because I think at this time of year, people are like, how do I move my business forward? The 2024 Coaching Biz Growth Lab will run on Fridays, as it has for almost 5 years now. And it's going to be a Friday, 11:35 to 12:20. I'll be sharing the 9-box model that we work on in one of our upcoming calls. And we also will have a call, possibly with group coaching demo. So I'm going to talk to Ivana on that. Our next call will be on the 31st on Halloween. So feel free to dress up. Got my pirate hat behind me. Or a witch hat. I could wear both in one call. But very much, join us for our next call on the 31st. So that'll be the 31st of October, November 14th, November 28th, and then early December. I may be in the Caribbean for the first couple of weeks to see my other side of the family. And the 19th is our holiday party. So earmark the 19th. That's a Tuesday. We will do a multi-hour holiday party geared to give you some tips, tools, and ideas for you as group and team coaches. So as we go to leave, just pop in chat. Yeah, what's your takeaway? Jay's put in here before he dropped off. Really appreciated this session, been diving in more and more to AI. Thanks, everyone. He had to run. What have been your takeaways? Just pop them in chat. Let us know. I'd love to hear what you are going to experiment with and or put into practice. I know personally, I'm going to look at the simulationlabs.ai. Rita's going to definitely play more with AI now. Courtney is inspired, want to look into marketing and AI more. Absolutely. If you haven't seen what they're doing in Canva, check it out. So thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon or evening or morning, and we'll see you soon. Take care. And Nancy's going to do simulation as well. All right. Take care. Bye.